Welcome to Worthy Ones, the video series where each and every week I share with you guys the newest issue ones that I read for the current comic book week and deem them worthy or not worthy. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content, you like me helping you make decisions of what comic books to buy, you came to the right place. Why don't you hit that subscribe button? So before we get started, I gotta just give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, and it is Hey Comics, relaunching the newest Kickstarter, and it is called Print Is Not Dead. It's a genre-bending comic anthology that has plenty of different stories involved, and it's got 20 different artists written by Eliza Joseph. This Kickstarter has 28 days left to go. It just launched today, and its goal is to reach $4,500. It needs your help, guys. It's an absolutely beautiful project. I got an early copy myself here, and if you like a manga style type of comic, that's exactly what this is. You know, manga fans are gonna appreciate it, and one of the best stories in here, in my opinion, was the very first story, which is Stake in the Heart. It's absolutely awesome, about a vampire protector. Oh my gosh, it's really, really good. The art was really awesome. I like the creativity in there. And then every once in a while, what happens is when you get a multi-page story, then you get single-page stories, and it reminded me of the Sunday comics. There's going to be something in here for you regardless, because it touches on all genres. So guys, check out Print Is Not Dead on Kickstarter. Back the project today. I will leave the link in the description box below, and I just want to say good luck to Hey Comics and Elijah on this project. Werewolf by Night, Blood Moon Rise. This is issue 1. Are you scared now? 32 pages for the price of $5. I feel like these books should be coming out during, you know, Halloween time, but that's just my opinion here. This book is a 32-page comic for the price of $5. This one's written by Michael Giangio, and the art is done by David Messina. The artwork is actually okay. I don't think it's the best, and that's just obviously my opinion when it comes to these things, right? When it comes to a horror book, I would like things a little bit more detailed, a little bit more gruesome, right? I mean, I did not read the Red Band edition of Werewolf by Night, and I don't know if that is still going on and if that's more bloodier or gorier or whatnot, but again, I just feel like there definitely could be more details, and something like this could be a little bit more gory. But of course, that's just my opinion, as always. Now, when it comes to this book is about Jack Russell, who is obviously held in captivity, his choice in a way, because he doesn't want to hurt people when the full moon comes out. So he's stuck in this cell for like 3 days. And he finds out when the moon is, you know, gone or whatever it is, and he tries to get himself out of his own prison. Well, Dracula's up to his old tricks, and he's using, you know, Jack Russell to hit for his benefits, right? You wind up getting to see a couple of decent things that happen in this comic to Jack, on something that he's never been able to do before when it comes to his werewolf powers. You get to see some cool fighting amongst, you know, Dracula, another werewolf. Man-Thing makes his appearance in this comic book. But there was nothing here that really sat there and said, oh my gosh, I have to buy this book. So for me, this book was not worthy. Now, honestly, the reason why I did buy this book was because I thought this was a new ongoing series. I did not realize that this was a one-shot until one of the webheads in the comments said, oh, Mike, this is a one-shot. I was like, oh, man. Because I thought the last volume, and I'm not sure if it did, ended, and they were re-releasing a new volume, and I wanted to jump on board without a polybag, right? So that was kind of disappointing for me in itself, because I do like werewolves, I like monsters, I like that stuff, but, you know, this was just a one-shot. So the reason why it's not worthy is because there's so many other books. You know, we got mini-series out the butt right now, and that's bad enough. We don't need just one-shots either. Not a bad story, but it's just, like I said, I want to read ongoings. I don't want to read one-shots. So at the end of the day, it was an average story. I gave it a C. Just check out something else, like I said. Mega Man X Timelines. This is issue 1. This is a $5 comic book. It's written by Daniel Arsenault, and the art is done by Edwin Huang. When it comes to this comic, I was really excited about it because I played a lot of Mega Man 2, but Mega Man X was my jam. On Super Nintendo, I played that game to death. I wanted to find all the secrets, all the capsules. I loved Sigma. I loved defeating all the robots. Like, so good, right? So when I saw this coming out, I'm like, oh, yes. Now, I know this is a one-shot, but then there'll be an ongoing series in the future. The artwork in this comic is kind of like what you can expect, right? I mean, if you've played the games, you've seen, like, the cut scenes and kind of, like, the way the characters look. Like, look at Zero right there. Just looks amazing. The colors are bright and vibrant, and it's really good. And when you are reading this comic, it takes you through a level of Mega Man. And so what happens is Zero and Mega Man are working together to go through Chill Penguin's area because they got a distress call from him. And then what happens as you see him go through this level, you see Mega Man actually get his first power up, how he's the protector of the robots, and he talks to Mr. or Dr. Light, I think it was, and all those different things. And then you also get to see this cool ass boss battle between Chill Penguin and Mega Man. Oh my gosh, you could not ask for anything more. This book was absolutely worthy. If you're a Mega Man fan, you're gonna absolutely love this. It's like playing the video game, but reading it in a comic style. And I got so much enjoyment out of this one. This was a good surprise. I can't wait for the ongoing to come out with this. This one gets an A+ from me. Gosh, I love Mega Man. It just brought back those childhood memories. Bring on the bad guys. Loki, issue 1. And now, this has been a series where it kind of connects, but it has to do with individual bad guys, right? And I think you're going to like certain issues more based off of some of your favorite villains. Like, I really liked the Green Goblin issue. I thought that was the best one. There was a Doctor Doom issue, which I thought was pretty good. We had the Abomination one, was all right, but it wasn't my favorite. So this time we're tackling Loki. And this is part 4 of 7. And this is 32 pages for the price of $5. This one's written by Anthony Oliveira, and the art is done by Jethro Morales. My gosh, I can't talk. Artwork is fine. It does what it needs to do in here. I think Loki looks pretty evil, right? I love his facial expressions in here. He's like all pissed off. The coloring is like real dark and gloomy, and I think it needs to be, especially with a book with Mephisto in there. I think out of all the characters in this book, he looks the best. I mean, the opening pages were awesome, right? So if you like Loki, I think you'll really like this book. I'm not a huge fan of Thor. I'm not a huge fan of Loki. So maybe I'm a little bit, I didn't have huge expectations going into this. But Mephisto sets him out on this mission to actually kill this person that is, I guess, a descendant of Khonshu, right? And so you wind up getting to see Loki kind of play around with his prey, right? Trying to get him to create music and do all these different things. And then eventually what happens is he does wind up killing this guy. And Mephisto was giving him a timeline of when to take this guy's soul and to fill that blade and whatnot. And what happens is, like, who gets the last laugh here? Is it Loki or is it Mephisto? Well, you're just going to have to read it to find out, because you think, Mephisto is the one always pulling the strings and he gets the last laugh. But, I think maybe Loki kind of gets the last laugh in this one. So when it comes to this book, though, it just was not worthy. This, for me, was just my least favorite of the bunch. There was a lot of just like standing around and talking about writing music and how this guy's a gift to God when it comes to writing music. I'm like, all right, let's get on with it. Where the other ones were a little bit more horrific and had a little bit more action, even the Abomination one for me was a little bit better than this one. So I liked how Loki was, cunning and obviously, his trickster ways against Mephisto. But that wasn't enough for me to sit there and tell you guys, oh yeah, you got to buy this one when it comes to bring on the bad guys. So at the end of the day, I gave this one a C-. If you can stay away from this one, go ahead. But if you're a completionist and you want to, buy all of these, then of course it can't stop you, right? Justice League Dark Tomorrow Special. This is issue 1. This is a 44-page comic for the price of $6. It's written by Mark Guggenheim, Mark Waid, and the art is done by Cian Torney. When it comes to the artwork in this book, it's actually pretty good. I like it. It opens up with lots of action. It takes place in different time periods. This is very much a book that has to do with time travel. So if you don't like time traveling, I don't know if you might like this, but nevertheless, it doesn't I would say fixate on it so much. It doesn't sit there and go, oh, we're going to go back to the past, and then we're going to go to the future, and then we're going to go to the past again. And it's not confusing that way. So, again, it's not horribly done when it comes to all the time travel stuff. And it comes off of the heels of the We Are Yesterday event, okay? So what happens is we get this new guy that comes in. His name is Legend, right? He comes from the future. And he doesn't want to give his real name because he doesn't want to mess up the space-time continuum and all that other stuff. But what's going on is time-traveling characters from the DC universe are getting wiped out, and it's his job to try to get together a bunch of people to try to stop that. And they call these creatures the Omega Demons or something like that. And I think they all work for Darkseid, right? And this all does tie into this DCKO event that's about to happen. So what happens is we get this new guy, Legend, like I said, which people are speculating, which is Rip Hunter from Legends of Tomorrow. And he gathers characters from different times of the DC universe, like Airwave, Amazing Man, Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond, Gold Beetle, who is one of the main characters here who's glitching on and off, Huntress, Jonah Hex, and Marilyn Moonlight. So they're all going into battle with each other as this, you would say, ragtag team of heroes to try to stop these creatures. And it was kind of cool seeing the different interactions between the characters on how they would work together for the first time. And you can see they were overwhelmed by these crazy creatures and whatnot. So, I mean, listen, was this book the best book I ever read? No, but it does set up things to come for the DCKO event. So if you would want an idea, I guess maybe go ahead and pick this up. And I'm going to say this book is worthy. It was an entertaining read. I wasn't bored at all throughout the time. There was decent artwork, decent action, and the story will continue in Justice League Unlimited and in Justice League KO. So like I said, you might want to read this. And then it also continues in Superman issue 28. And if you've been reading Superman, it's going to continue there as well. So at the end of the day, not a bad book. I didn't feel really lost when I got into it. So I'm going to give this one a solid B. Looking forward, obviously, to the event at hand. The War. This is issue 1, published by Boom Studios. This is a 40-page comic for the price of $5. The information I get from this is it collects The War 1 through 3, originally published in Hello Darkness 1 through 3. What the hell is Hello Darkness issue 1 through 3? I don't even know. So I guess they're republishing this or reprinting this in its own book. I never even heard of it. So nevertheless, this one is written by Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan. When it comes to this book, I was like, oh, I don't know what to expect out of, Garth Ennis's book. It could be very heavy-handed, Becky Cloonan as well. And so when I opened it up, I was not impressed by the artwork either. I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm really going to like this. It's a bunch of people sitting around just talking about stuff, drinking, and I'm like, I could be bored to death with this comic, right? But as I actually read it, I got more and more and more into this comic book because I wanted to see what happens. I am a fan of post-apocalyptic books, or when the war, or when the world is coming to an end and the lead up to that point. And that's kind of what this book actually is, but you don't really see the fallout yet, and you don't really see too much of like what happens beforehand, because it just focuses on a group of people here. And it opens up with this talks of a very real conversation about Ukraine and Russia if the war continues to escalate, right? And if they don't come to talks, like, what happens? Does someone actually push the button? And in this comic book, you get all these people, all the main cast of characters, kind of speculating like what's going on if this does go further. And when you read this comic book, it actually happens. Like, London gets destroyed in here, and then you get the people in the US kind of panicking. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then you're going to have to read it to find out if the button is pressed. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, oh dang, this book is worthy. So I'm definitely going to need to continue to read this to see what happens going forward. But this is a very realistic book right now based off of today's politics and everything else that is going on. But if you don't like books that are sitting around, eating, drinking, talking about politics, could be, depressing for you, then you're going to want to stay away from this comic book, right? But for me, somehow, some way, I'm just in it for the fallout. I want to see the aftermath of everything. So I gave this one a solid B. Took a little while to get to, but I overall enjoyed it. Speed Racer, this is issue 1. It's finally come out since the free comic book day issue. This one is published by Mad Cave. My hat's off to Mad Cave this year, doing a very good job with releasing some solid content. 32 pages for the price of $5. This one is written by David Pepose, who does Space Ghost, which he did was absolutely phenomenal, right? And the art here is done by David Tinto. The artwork is really good. I love the coloring in here. The action scenes are awesome. I love seeing the Mach 5 in action as well as Speed is driving the vehicle. It just overall looks really super good. And, when I was a kid, I vaguely remember Speed Racer. Like, I would watch it on reruns, the old soundtrack, like, go Speed Racer, go. I used to write that. So, I am familiar with some of the characters. Like, I know Speed, I've seen Trixie before, and obviously they're a little different from here to the show, but you want to modernize the comic, right? And in this book does a great job of giving you, like, a basic description of, like, who Speed Racer is, his passion for racing, how Pop's Garage was this once famous racer or racing team, and now they've kind of fallen behind on bills and things like that because of the loss of Speed's brother. And Speed wants nothing to do but to race so he can help his family, not be poor anymore. And he blames his dad for driving his mother away and all these different things. So he races underground to try to make some money and all kinds of things. And we just get that basic introduction of the characters. And then something happens to Pops, which is the dad in the comic book. And you can't help feel bad for the father who wants to protect his son. But we know that Speed Racer needs to be born to race to put his family back on top again. This book was awesome. It was very much worthy. I really enjoyed it. And, David Pepose has a knack for getting these properties that we knew into his own distinct feel, right? He makes you want to read them. Some of them could be cheesy, corny, campy, back in the day when you watch them on TV, but they're fun reads now. And I had a blast with this one. I gave this one an A. I had so much fun, and I can't wait for the second issue of this. Spider-Man versus the Sinister 16. This is issue 1, 40 pages for the price of $5. This one's written by J. Michael Straczynski, and the art is done by Phil Noto. I've said it before, Phil Noto's artwork is not my favorite. Obviously, artwork is always a personal preference. In fact, comic books in general are personal preference, right? But we always talk about what we like and what we don't like. And when it comes to Noto's artwork, for me, it just lacks detail. It feels very stiff. When there is action on the pages, it just doesn't, I don't know, man, it just doesn't work right for me, right? Like, so this is a scene with Venom here. This is a Venom action scene that kind of doesn't work for me, right? But nevertheless, I think as you read this comic book, the artwork does fit what this comic is going for. And when it comes to all of these team-up books that Michael Straczynski has done, what he accomplished is unlikely team-ups, right? So this one seemed a little bit different when the title says Spider-Man versus the Sinister 16. Because in my eyes, I'm thinking, okay, Spider-Man's facing 16 villains? Like, that's going to be crazy. But the cover is interesting because it has him eating a bowl of soup. So you're like, what is this about, right? So when you open this up, this story opens up very pleasing to probably a lot of Spider-Man fans as Peter Parker and Mary Jane are going out on a date with each other to this very famous restaurant. Now, right away, I'm like, okay, I'm happy because we're dealing with a story that has nothing to deal with anything that's going on in the Marvel Universe, right? And so Mary Jane and Peter are going to this famous restaurant that hasn't had openings for months. And so they get this invitation to go. And as you read this comic, you get to see more and more heroes get invited, right? And Peter's like, this is weird. This is interesting. Why is Thor here? Why is She-Hulk here? As you read, you wind up seeing Doctor Strange and Clea come. You wind up getting to see Dr. Otto Octavius come. And Peter's like, wait a second. He's like, what are you doing here? He takes him outside. He has a conversation with him. And Otto's like, dude, I got to eat too, you know? So they're like, fine. Let's eat. Let's enjoy the meal. And then we can just leave. Let's leave each other alone. People just keep coming in this restaurant and you're just like, what is this? Like, why are all these heroes and villains coming into this restaurant? But it takes you to a place where it's like, okay, yes, we see supervillains and we see superheroes constantly fighting, but we forget that they are humans in very many ways and they need your basic needs and they're looking to have a good time as well. And it just kind of humanizes them, right? And it's just comical and it's funny. And as it goes along, you wind up seeing the real plot in place. Why our heroes and villains are here at this restaurant, right? You get introduced to the chef that cooks their food and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, this is also, like I said, very much a Mary Jane and Peter Parker story. This book was worthy in so many ways. I absolutely love this story here. It was comical. I had fun with it. I love that Mary Jane and Peter Parker were together. Even the artwork didn't distract me from the story that was at hand. So at the end of the day, I'm giving this one an A+. This is your unlikely, hero versus villain story. But nevertheless, I just had a grand time with it. And I like when a comic can do, when a comic can actually surprise you like this one did today. And there you have it, webheads. There are my thoughts on the newest issue ones this week. Do you agree? Disagree? And soon, guys, we'll be back on our normal schedule. Tennis summer camp is almost over and I can get back to a normal routine. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. And as always, I'll leave you more content right here for you to click on. And remember, support the local comic shops. Keep buying, keep collecting. But always remember, read your comics so we can have great comic conversation just like we did today. Thanks for watching, guys.